Hello everybody, Cone Dodger here. Welcome back to Automation, and welcome to something new in Automation, well, new to me. Dirtbuyer has been setting up a racing league in Automation for quite some time, and it has gotten quite advanced. I have kind of stayed on the sidelines watching it evolve and watching it grow, so as always when I try to start things, I'm way behind the ball game, but I have decided that now is the time to jump on board for the BRC 1966 Gentlemen Brobots Club. Basically, the theme of this works like so. There is a set of rules that you build a car to that you have to follow for a, kind of normal racing format. We'll go over those in a minute. And then you export your car into a program that he has written that will give you the ability to have a race strategy. You want to get fuel strategy, your tire strategy, all that stuff. And then he will run the races that he has also designed a program to now run, where all of our cars will race at the same time. It's a 2D representation, of course, just like you see on the test track in Automation. These are considered to be endurance races. They will be 90 minutes each, and we will be at Goodwood, Donington Park, Thruxton, Knockhill, Snetterton, Brands Hatch Indy, and Silverstone. So a British track theme for the Bavarian Racing Challenge this month. What you're going to see right now is just me building the car, me building a car for this series. If you want to check out the races and whatnot, you're going to have to go over to your buyer's channel, where he will be showing off the races. There usually is live streams with live commentary on the races. It's a pretty cool thing. So this is interesting for us. 1966 is a year that we covered during the Vector Automotive Challenge. I know lots of you are waiting to see more of the Vector Automotive Challenge. For me personally, I'm in a little bit of a phase of kind of re-energizing towards that series again. I like to go into that with a lot of inspiration. I personally know of a lot of cool stuff going on with Automation at the moment. Perhaps a little bit delaying that series because I know that it will be even better off when we have the newer features of Automation. In particular, the factories and the engineering and the stuff like that is getting very much so expanded upon in the newer versions, and that is really going to help what we're doing in the Vector Challenge. So I appreciate everybody's patience on waiting for that. We'll definitely get back into the Vector Automotive Challenge, but for now, we're going to do something a little bit different and a little bit fun outside of the absolute theme of that. But I'm definitely going to try and build ourselves a Vector Intrigue that will be in the spirit of the BRC challenge here. You'll notice here on the list I have nothing available besides Car Model 1. I had to go ahead and erase all of the cars. Well, not erase. Erase is a strong word. I just moved all of my cars from their existing folder to a copied one so that they're safe and off to the side. If you want to go ahead and join in this, I suggest you do the same. There's no risk involved. You just copy that folder off to somewhere else, and if you want them back, you just copy your cars back into the folder. It's very simple. And we will revise this Car Model 1, which you can see I've already loaded up. I don't know why it's silver at the moment, but I've loaded up the body that we used for the Intrigue. I'm not going to be too particular on matching the looks and the styling and exact profile of the Intrigue or anything like that. This is definitely outside that realm, but we're going to try and keep some of that spirit. Alright, so this is the body that we had originally used for the Intrigue. I am probably going to end up having it look a little bit different. None of this particularly matters as far as the performance goes. I mean, the size of the body definitely does change a little bit and stuff like that. So here is some important decisions to make. So I guess now is a good time to go over what some of the rules are. The car and engine must be from the year 1966. The car body must be from the last 10 years. High quality essentials mod pack is allowed. Hopefully I will use all of those mods. I do have some other ones installed, but I'm pretty sure I know which ones are which. The power to weight ratio must be 0.25 horsepower per kilogram. I've changed it over to kilograms, and I will do my best to try and calculate that correctly. The tire width must be 225 or lower. Tire quality is 0 or lower. No wings, no lips. Max total car cost is $8,500. And I guess the most important rule is no cheating. So our initial build here, I'm going to try and do things as expensive as we can. I'm even going to go for a fiberglass body here. And basically the the restrictions on that is I'm trying to make it as light as possible and handle as well as possible. I'm going for a much smaller car than I see most people going for here, so I'm interested to see how this plays out. Alright, I think this will do it for a basic body design. It's intrigue-like, but it has a little bit different look to it. Obviously, we can't use lips, we can't use wings, and that was a major feature of that body. But I tried to do some racing touches to it with the vents and the backward scoop. I love that kind of look with the air relief scoop rather than the air induction scoop. And then some pressure release in the back and some nice exhaust. Overall, it's pretty simple. We'll put it in our classic Vector Racing dark green. Totally not British racing green. Racing green, easy for me to say apparently, as Sean Connery. And rear-wheel drive, longitude and all-wheel drive's available. We could do it, but no thank you. Not for this challenge anyway. Okay, so for an engine, I'm guessing this car will be somewhere in the 700 to 800 kilogram area, so I'm guessing we need somewhere in the 200 to 250 horsepower range. So small V8 is kind of the, I thought I had given this a car trim. Let me make sure that is done. VRGT. And the engine on the Intrigue, when we went with like the Rally, with the really cool cars, small V8 seemed to be my theme. So that is what I'm going to try and pull off here. We have no idea what kind of competition we're going up against here. Obviously, I'm very new to this, so I have a target lap time that I watched some testing of the existing cars to see what kind of range we need to be in. So I have somewhat of an idea what to go for. I guess I'll stop rambling and start building. Let's see, a small V8 fits in this car very well. How small do we need to go, though? Because it needs to be very light, but it still needs to make, like I said, in that 200-ish horsepower range. Efficiency is key as well. Efficiency and weight balance, so we don't want it to be too terribly heavy. We have the aluminum option there. We'll try it. We'll see if it's not too expensive. And I always lean towards the overhead cam engines. Again, price. I don't know how expensive this is going to be. Let's try single overhead cam for now, and we'll do the aluminum heads. I'm going to kind of breeze through some of this stuff so I can see a ballpark of how we're doing on the price point, but I'm not sure. I'm not really sure if we're going to be close or not. So an initial build of the engine, 169 horsepower with it at 3 liters. So we're in pretty good territory there, I think. How are we looking on cost? Material cost is $874 and 43 production units. I think we might actually be okay with this setup. We may even be able to pull off the dual overhead cam, which would be pretty crazy for 1966, don't you think? I think indeed, but we'll give it a try. 4-valve dual overhead cam setup. It's just going to make us more efficient, and economy is one of the things I'm really going to try and focus on for this race. Alright, for right now, even though we definitely need to get more power out of this thing, I am going to go ahead and work on the trim, give us a basic trim of, a 4-speed, and we'll give it a basic kind of gearbox. We'll go through these things rather quickly. What kind of tires can we get on there? Not on 15s we can't, but we need to get up to the 215s somehow. So a 225 tire is the upper limit. They can be smaller than that, and I'm probably going to have to go smaller than that for this car because look at the tires we'd have to run to get up to just 215s. Not going to be very, very good. We can lower the size of them via a lower wheel diameter. However, even that isn't really going to be great. So let's see what kind of 11 we could do. 175 the most. Let's give it as much tire as we can. 195. That's a little bit better. That's something we can probably play with a bit as we go. Obviously, we're going to want solid discs. We're probably going to want race pads. That's my assumption anyway. And race pads. With these tiny wheels, you don't get a whole lot of brakes in there. That's definitely one of the drawbacks to this smaller car. Obviously, we need it to have a lot of cooling airflow. We want it to be very reliable. I'm going to do a little bit of brake cooling on there as well. It seems like an important thing for a race car. As far as the interior goes, just absolute basic. I will probably even reduce these quality sliders once we get there, once we start, finishing this thing out, because you're not going to need anything more than that. Quality sliders are probably one of the fine-tuning adjustments for these kind of cars. And then we'll do a basic race setup. Let's just see what our cost is right now. Total cost right now is $61.93, so we have lots of money left over. We can make this thing much faster. I have done 0 tuning on it, but I want to get a baseline. Where are we starting with this kind of car? I know that the good times are in the 222 range to the 226 range here around the big track. Let's see where we stand. It's going to be much slower than that. 228, that's actually not nearly as bad as I initially feared, so we might be in good shape. Alrighty, so we have ourselves a base car here, and we are not as far off as I anticipated being. But we still have a lot of work to do. Our car is weighing 804 kilograms, 189 horsepower. My calculator tells me that is 0.235 on the horsepower per kilogram, and we have a 0.25 limit. Obviously, we want to be up near that 0.25 limit. But with that limit being so low, and basically this car is going to have very little power, I think what we want to do is just to have the flattest power curve possible. And let's go back to our engine. We barely did any tuning on this, just kind of did some basically the stuff I did with the Intrigue, I guess is what I replicated. But we can do even better than that. It's got a nice flat torque curve already. I didn't go crazy with the cams or anything yet, so it doesn't have a terribly obnoxious power curve. But I think I know some tricks to even increase this mid-range a little bit more. Some of it might be a little tricksy. It might not be to something that you would really want to do with an engine, but building a racing car is all about bending the rules. So let's get started. So I think we definitely keep this aluminum block. That worked out quite well, but what I think I want to do is actually reduce the stroke of it some and bring the weight of this thing down just a little bit more. The bottom end is absolutely fine, 0 problems there, even with no quality bump or anything like that. So we got plenty of reliability in it right now. Looks like we could be better using compression. So that right there instantly gets us up into a better situation power-wise, power to weight. And power to weight is everything. I'm thinking around 190 horsepower is the number we should be shooting for. All depends on what the car ends up weighing. And a lot of it depends on the economy. If I can get it to be more economic and have the same power output, that is good. Let's see. We don't really need any more of a rev range because it's already peaked out there. But let's see if we can maybe. We're pretty close now with the more compression. So I might just back off on this compression a little bit and up on the ignition timing because that is good for the econ. So one thing I want to look at is getting this blue line further to the left, and one of the ways you can do that is running a smaller exhaust. We're already pretty much to the limit. I mean, sure you can increase the mid a little bit, but then it's not really helping too terribly much. But I think the short cast, if we do that, it's less money, so it gives us more money to spend on quality in other places. How does it affect the economy? It does have a very, very small negative effect there. This is all very tricky stuff. So originally, I set this up with twin 2-barrel carburetors. I would love to see what it would do with these DCOEs. Now that's way more than this engine needs, but we have the money to do it. So let's see if it is a wise investment. Okay, what was it at? 0.8, oh no, that's the wrong one. 0.732. So let's go to these, we'll do the quads, and then how low can we go with the fuel mix? How low can we go? Wow, pretty low. Very low. All the way down to a 0.673. So that gets us to an 18.79. I want it to be even better than that, though. Alright, so now we're at a 0.596. I went ahead and spent some quality. We'll see how we're doing on price point. But now it's up at 21%, and that is a lot better. We're also at 182 horsepower, and we also dropped some weight. So let's go to the trim and see what we have done here. We're down only 1 kilogram, or less than 1 kilogram, so not a ton of weight savings there. I think that DCOE setup is a bit more on the heavy side, but let's see. Let me run those numbers. So we're still safe there. That's 0.226, and we can go up to 0.25. Let's go ahead and work on the body a little bit and see if we can get the weight down, because I would love to lose a little weight off this thing, because that would help us with the economy, and it would help out get us closer to that 0.25. Nearly forgot, I needed to check. Okay, we're at 82.59, so we are getting close to the 8,500 limit as of right now. But if we want to buy back some money and lose some weight, we'll drop the quality on all of this stuff. I have heard that running at least standard safety is encouraged. Not really sure why that is. I assume it has something to do with maybe the durability of the car, because crashes are a thing that are modeled here, so maybe it gives it a little bit more crash resistance. But we'll have it at a very low quality of standard. Okay, that brought us down to 753. So that is a huge amount of weight taken off the car, and we still have 8194, so we still have money to spend. Let me grab the calculator. 0.241. We're getting very close now, so we can keep losing just a little bit more weight and start heading in the right direction with things. I did not do a body quality increase. I'm going to go a little bit on that, and also chassis quality. And that should really take some weight off this thing just doing that. Let's see. 754.1. It actually gained a little weight, probably due to the stronger materials. It's going to make the chassis better. It's going to make the car faster. So it's probably weight well spent. But let's see if maybe there are some other places to lose some weight. Is power steering really a necessity? Does increase the drivability a little, and I assume the drivability also goes for your pro racing driver, whoever that might be in our car. But darn it does lose weight and gives us. Oh, when did we go? Oh, the chassis. The chassis quality put us over for our money. So let's go back. That was actually adding a little bit more weight than I expected. So let's go back off on these a little bit. This is the interesting part of this, you know, is there's so much variability in all of this that maybe doesn't even seem that prevalent when you're just playing the game normally. But once you start getting into a competitive atmosphere, there's a lot you can do here. 0.243 as of right now. That's pretty close. We're getting very close. Let's see about working on the rest of the car and getting it well tuned, because it is very much so not well tuned at the point. Which transmission do we use? Do we stick with the 4-speed or go up to a 5? The car is staying pretty well in the power band. It's, I don't know. Is that estimated top speed? Are we going to hit that at most of these tracks? Maybe. I don't know. The majority of the tracks here are pretty slow. And, you know, you only hit that top speed when you've been on the gas for a very long time in a car that is this slow. So that is a tough choice. I think I'm going to leave those to editing and massaging until I run it on the track some more. Handling-wise, it's doing pretty well. The tires are working out pretty well. And brake-wise, we definitely need more brakes. That is not a surprise to me. We can do 2 pistons up front, so that's going to add a bit of weight. And then in the rear tires are way outperformed by the brakes. So we can actually lose a little bit of rear brake on this thing. How do we do that? Do we do drums? Drums are cheaper. They are lighter, surprisingly. Didn't see that coming. Okay, and yeah, well balanced, so that could be good. In the airflow department, I had this thing with maybe a little bit too much cooling on it, a little bit more than necessary. And we did lose 1 point. There we go. Yeah, we'll leave that because we want that reliability to be good. We also have quality to spend here, I assume. Let's see, does that reduce drag? Does it reduce drag? Does it show if we're reducing drag? Doesn't really, but it is increasing our top speed and our miles per gallon, so it probably is. Let's see, let's go do a 5 bump there and see how that works price-wise. I also want to do a bump on the suspension quality. 9,000, so definitely too much. Let's go down to 2 there, and let's go down to 2 here. 85.48. I think I would rather it be in the suspension than in the body. Okay, there we go. Getting it right on the razor's edge. So front dampers, we'll need more. It always needs more. And since it's front engined and a somewhat heavy engine, probably a little bit more front spring under it would help. It's actually inducing a little bit of understeer. It's pretty well balanced right out of the gate, and that's pretty cool. We don't need any ride height because that doesn't matter for this. So we were at a 228. Let's see where we are at now. Wheel spin seems to be an issue, really losing a lot of time there. That doesn't really come into play though in the race as much because you only really, get on the gas from first gear a couple times during the race. Alright, let's take a look at the time. 228. We're at a 228. We didn't improve at all. So I think the two numbers we need to increase are these cornering numbers. 0.09 is not great. We could definitely do better than that. So let's see how we can do better than that. Lots of camber does it. That does it quite nicely. And I'm going to try and undo the ride height. Thought maybe that the bottoming out was an issue. Maybe the suspension's too squatted. Who knows? I don't even know if that's modeled or not, but I'm going to experiment with it. That's what this is all about, experimenting. So we want it to be right at the edge of oversteer, basically, for a race car. You want to get as much grip as you can before it starts to oversteer. Oh, there's the edge. Okay, so that was with spring stiffness. That's one way to do it. There are many ways. Test track shows we're up to a 0.12, but at high speed now, it is down to a 0.91. So those stiff springs in the back are having a negative effect on the big circle. Okay, look at this. Our handling definitely has a weird characteristic at speed because of the body and the lift on it. We're having an issue where it has a lot of lift oversteer at high speeds. So we somehow need to get rid of this. I have no idea how because we cannot use wings. I guess maybe the suspension was doing it? Would less camber? We'd have too much camber? Is that causing that issue? Aha, there we go. So at a certain point, it does indeed fix that. So I have to balance this chart with this chart. And if we go back to the test track, yes, indeed, the big circle time did come back up, or the big circle G's. Okay, so we're still sitting in the 228 range, but I'm pretty happy with the car handling right now. I could still probably use a little bit more cornering G's. But one thing I might be overlooking is the differential, because currently it's open manual or automatic. I think automatic is probably the way to go. Maybe it'll help with the wheel spin a little bit, but probably more than anything the inside tire wheel spin out of turns. In my mind, that makes sense. We'll see if it makes sense at the track. Oh yeah, there's our first huge step forward. 226. We're now only about 2 seconds off of my target of a 224. So a step in the right direction, though I do believe that put us over cost. And just slightly. So we're getting there, guys. We're down in the 25s, 225.59, but I'm basically out of money to spend on the car at 84.67, and I would love to invest a little bit more into the suspension, maybe the brakes, maybe the gearbox, differential area, So let's go back to the engine, because I know I went a little carried away with some of these quality values, and you get a little bit of diminishing returns once you get above 10. So let's back down on that to 10. I mean, obviously it hurt our economy and stuff a little bit, but it's such a little bit that it probably doesn't even matter. And then we're still good on knock, so maybe, let's see, we had this one up at 10. 10's okay. But let's go for as much compression. Okay, it's right on the edge there. As much compression as we can get, and I guess that'll be good. Let's see what that does as far as the moolah. Ooh, moolah, money to spend. Alright, well, I think we're still okay on power, right? 183, I'll have to double check in the end, get that right on the money. But let's invest that into some suspension. Let's go to 5. Okay, right back up to the 8,500 mark. So let's see what it does. It's a long test here. There we go. 225.55. It's starting to get to the point where we're splitting hairs. I may cut for a little while here and just tinker for who knows how long. Could be an hour, could be 10 minutes. Not going to quit till I get in the 24s. Alright, I think our car is ready. 224.24. I like that number. It's a nice repeating number. And hopefully it is a good performing number. You could probably do better. But I wanted to keep on theme for this, so I didn't go too crazy. And I am very happy with how it turned out. I have a lot to learn about this type of racing and car building. So this is purely a test. But let's go over what I end up changing. Most of it came through here in the trims. Went to the 4-speed box once again, extended that out to 141, just to give it a little itty bit of overdrive was effective. Tire-wise, I don't think we did much. Brake-wise, I went smaller on the rotors to save a little weight, and that balanced it out very nicely. One of the biggest things was I went for this semi-clad under tray because you can add a little downforce in there. That was something I was missing. And all this was the same. I'm curious to see how this works out. If that was important or not, we might just DNF. And that's what we ended up with suspension-wise. I do want to give the engine a name. This is the BRC spec V8. And variant on it, I don't really know. We went with the DCOEs. That was, I think, the biggest unique thing on the engine. And damn if it doesn't look cool. Okay, well, here is the forum post that shows the rules and everything if you wanted a visual on what those look like. And what I need to do now is actually the second step of how to participate. After you've built a car according to the rules, you have to use this program, which I will launch now. Hopefully it comes up on the right screen. It did! Alright, and I will enter my name. And I will enter my car name. And we will select that car. I just deleted the E off of that, but I think I can fix it. It is the only car in there because of the way I set that up. Okay, there we go. Alright, now is where it gets to the point where I have no idea what I'm doing. Let me get this out of here. And let's see, the races are 90 minutes. but we're going to have a test race, a test session coming up to figure this stuff out. A 10-lap training session. So the race strategy I don't think is too pivotal just yet. There are some tools out there available on the actual forum post if you search as to how to set up your stops and how much fuel your car will use, etc., etc. I do not know of just how much fuel consumption the car will have in a race setting, so I'll use the test to determine that. And then here is your strategy for, say, if you have to do a regular stop. If there's damage to the car, what percentage of damage should you pit at? 50 is the default. I say don't be a wimp. Don't come in till it's 75% damaged. At what percent tire wear? 30 is the default. I guess that means 30% worn or 30% to go. That's a good question, because you would think it would be 30% to go. Let's leave that at 30 because I don't know for sure just yet. That percent race time, 15 to 85. Gotcha. So basically this means it will not pit if there's less than 15% started in the race or 85%. So in the first or last 15% of the race, it will not pit. And then replace a regular stop with the percent of the race time means if that irregular stop happens within 20% of its normal scheduled stop, it will just count that as the regular stop. Makes sense to me? Okay, that works out well too-ish if we're going to do this 20-40 split. Maybe. I have no idea. Alright, that actually doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I think I did that when I did this. So it should be at 30, 33, 30, 66. There we go. Okay, all fixed. And this stuff, changing compounds for rain, stuff like that, I'm going to leave that as it is for right now because I'm not 100% sure about that stuff. And we're learning. Obviously, I would like my number to be 9 if we can do that. And then I will hit export this submission. And hopefully it just did something. And we will have ourselves something to send in to Mr. Durbuyer. And we will go ahead and get in the race. So if you guys want to join in on this, I will definitely have links in the description on how to get here and how to participate. Obviously, you can see how to do it just off of the screen right now, but it is not terribly complicated, and we want to get as many people involved as possible. We got all the developers on board, Daffy, Caswell, Roberts, they're all going to be making cars for this, already have, including one particular bread van entry. But it should be a lot of fun. Make sure you check out the... Make sure you click on random things. Make sure you check out how the races go. I will keep you guys updated on that. And I will keep you updated on future Vector Automotive Challenge episodes. That series is not going anywhere. Don't worry, even if it's on a little bit of a hiatus right now. Thanks everybody for watching. I will see you next time.